Hello, my name is Franklin, future farmer, and I am very interested in becoming a grain farmer in Saskatchewan. I have been watching the futures prices in Chicago and I see wheat is over $7 a bushel. It looks like an excellent time to become a wheat grower.
Hello, young man, you can call me Mr. Smith or sir. I work for the Canadian Wheat Board. These are exciting times for the Canadian Wheat Board.
I have a lot of ideas, sir. I intend to make flour with my wife and children and supply my brother who owns a gourmet bakery in Calgary. I can hardly wait to get started.
Slow down, young man, you are talking Eskimo. You cannot do those things in Saskatchewan.
How come? It is a free country, isn't it? My cousin in Ontario and my old high school teacher in British Columbia are involved in similar projects right now.
You have a lot to learn. In Western Canada, you must sell your grain through the Canadian Wheat Board. If you wish to niche market your own grain, you must first sell it to the Canadian Wheat Board, and then we sell it back to you at a much higher price, effectively killing your business before it even begins.
What? How can such a system exist in Canada? That seems kind of communist.
Watch your smart mouth, boy, or I will put your name on a list for an immediate audit by the board.
Okay, I am sorry, sir. Let me rephrase. It seems odd in a free country like Canada only certain provinces would have such onerous rules.
Well, that is not for you to worry about. At the Canadian Wheat Board, we know what is best for prairie farmers.
I see. How long has the Canadian Wheat Board been providing these services?
We have been around since 1935, but we really came into our own in 1943, when we became a monopoly. We were given a mandate to keep prices low during World War II. I'm very proud to say that we have never departed from that mandate and that we have been keeping grain prices low for 67 years.
I want to be a farmer and I will have land payments, machinery payments, fertilizer and chemical expenses. I do not want a low price for my grain.
You sound like a greedy farmer who does not appreciate all the intangible advantages to marketing through the board.
I cannot take intangible advantages to the bank to pay my bills.
I have told you already to watch that smart-mouthed young man.
I have noticed on the Wheat Board's website glowing self-praise for the volume of grain that the board moves in a year. Given this is the only option that farmers have, this does not seem like much of an accomplishment to me. It seems like a weatherman taking credit for nice weather.
Young man, if you don't learn to hold your tongue, I will have to order another $1,000 bonus to myself and all Canadian Wheat Board employees to help us deal with the enormous stress of our job.
Another bonus? Who pays for this bonus?
The farmers pay for it, of course.
Is it voluntary?
There you go, talking Eskimo again. Nothing about the Canadian Wheat Board is voluntary.
It would seem that the stress that farmers face, rising costs, urban sprawl, market access issues, increasing debt loads, and low grain prices would be more stress than the average Canadian Wheat Board employee faces.
That just shows how ignorant you are. A simple farmer could never comprehend all the stresses that we deal with every day. You should be very thankful for us.
I noticed you have many other producer price options, yet as I walked through them with a calculator, they all seemed like a very bad deal for the farmer.
Ha 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 ha. They are a bad deal. We got tired of some greedy farmers whining about not having choices. So we give the illusion of giving choice by offering programs that will cost farmers a lot of money. We use the money we make from this to subsidize the pools and hide how horrible of a job we do at marketing. The fixed price contracts are very funny. Even if you select that option on the highest possible day, you generally won't outperform the pro. The producer price options are a funny joke we play on greedy farmers who don't want to participate in the pool.
That must discourage people from getting into farming.
On the contrary, we don't want people, and especially young people, getting involved in farming unless they support the Canadian Wheat Board and our 1943 mandate of low prices and cheap food.
Okay, well, since I cannot sell flour to my brother's bakery and since the producer price options are designed to subsidize the pool, tell me how pooling my grain works.
An important word of correction, young man. The grain is not your grain. It is our grain. Thinking of it as your grain will only cause you trouble. Anyways, the pool system is the fair way in the world to sell grain. It works like this: the farmer gets a large loan and buys land, machinery, seed, chemicals, crop insurance, hail insurance, and fertilizer. He generally does not pay himself a wage. He begins paying interest on all these expenses immediately. He works like a dog all year long and takes enormous risk. Finally, after he has combined his crop and put it in the bin, we tell him how much he is allowed to sell.
What? What if the farmer has large expenses and needs to sell all of grain right away?
Don't interrupt me, young man. If a farmer does not manage his cash flow properly, he deserves to go broke. We live in a capitalist society, you know. Anyways, we determine how much he is allowed to sell, and then we give him a very tiny fraction of that price as an initial payment.
How tiny of a fraction?
Well, this year we are projecting $5.50 a bushel for hard red spring wheat. So we are generously paying you $1.50.
$1.50 per bushel? That is insulting. That will not cover 20% of my costs.
Young man, if you don't stop talking Eskimo, I'm going to end this conversation. Farmers who talk about percentages, costs, profit margins are greedy and have no place in food production, nor do they fit in our cheap food mandate. After your initial payment, we slowly dribble out money to you when we feel you are desperate enough. After around 16 months.
16 months? I don't get paid for 16 months. Is that a joke?
Ha ha, I guess it is kind of a joke. But it is true. The real fun is our ability to keep farmers totally in the dark. They never know what they are getting or when they are going to get it. It makes getting the mail every day an adventure.
Do I get paid interest during that 16 months?
Interest? Don't understand that term.
Interest like what I pay when I have a bank loan.
Why would we pay you interest?
Because you have my product for 16 months without paying me for it.
You sound like a greedy farmer wanting to be paid interest. You young people should learn from the sacrifices that your elders made to supply the world with cheap food. It is my personal dream to make the Canadian Wheat Board the Walmart of grain.
What happens if you don't call my grain before the next harvest and I don't have the space to store 2 years' worth of crop?
You sound like a young man who makes excuses. Your poor storage management is not the fault of the Canadian Wheat Board. You have to take full responsibility for your management decisions. I guess you would have to store your grain on the ground if you were such a poor manager.
How can I afford $3 a bushel storage when I am only getting $1.50 initial payment for grain and I don't receive final payment until 16 months later?
Young man, I have had quite enough of your smart mouth and tone. I'm late for my steak dinner.
Okay, one last question. What happens if I decide to sell my grain to a private buyer and get paid in full immediately as well as receive a higher price?
Oh no, you don't want to do that. You will be thrown in a maximum security prison and share a cell with a convicted murderer.
That seems very harsh, especially in Canada, where we don't even punish murderers that severely.
It goes to show how serious of a crime stealing grain sales from the Canadian Wheat Board is, and the lengths to which the board must go to protect our farmer clients. Without this protection, the grain markets would be thrown into utter chaos.
I find that hard to believe. Farmers make more money growing lentils, peas, chickpeas, canary seed, canola, alfalfa, potatoes, and flax than they do growing wheat. It appears that the board is not doing a very good job.
I have had it with you, young man. You clearly are too young and foolish to understand the enormous subtle and intangible benefits of marketing through the Canadian Wheat Board. You clearly are a greedy farmer who does not care about his neighbor or keeping the cost of food low for the rest of the world. There are no room for people like you in the food production business. My chauffeur is here to take me to my important business lunch that grain farmers are paying for. Please go away and don't come back unless you are fully prepared to assist us in making wheat the most plenteous and cheap commodity in the entire world.